Good evening. It's another Tuesday evening, and we are live on Joy 99.7 FM. This is Geek Squad with your girl, Adobia Biritwum. It's already 10 minutes past 7, and we are already running late, I would say. We started a conversation last week talking about how parents can monitor the technological devices that their wards are using, and it's mainly for their safety. Today, we are going to continue with the part 2 of that, because where we got to, we realized that there was a need for us to tell you some tips when it comes to your children using the devices that you have bought for them. We've already seen from 2 weeks ago that there is a need for them to use these devices, especially for their education. And because of that, we as parents have to find means and ways of being able to monitor the devices that they use. And that is why I'm here today with my guest. We'll be delving into details of that so that you learn the tips that you can use in this digital age for you to stay updated yourself. You have to be updated as a parent, especially when it comes to the use of these devices. Now, with this said, I just want to read a quote that I read last week, and this is from Bill Wilkie. What he said was, or the quote that he made is, "Does your child's perceived rights to privacy supersede their safety? It's 100% your right as a parent to check their devices. So your child's perceived rights to privacy does not supersede their safety." That is what Bill Wilkie is saying here. Their right to privacy does not supersede their safety, but it's rather the right of the parents to check their devices. And Bill Wilkie is the president of Child Rescue Coalition, and we'll be getting into more details with this discussion. With this said, we are live on Facebook and on YouTube at Joy 99.7 FM. At Joy 99.7 FM. Geek Squad is brought to you by MTN. MTN everywhere you go. Before we get into our discussions for today, we want to share with you what is happening in the tech space. So take a listen to the emerging tech trends. If you're just joining us, this is Geek Squad with your girl Adobia Biritwum. Last week, we started a topic where we looked at different ways parents can put applications on their devices or even go to settings in order to check and monitor what their wards use their technological devices for. When I talk about technological devices, I'm referring to phones, it could be tablets or even laptops that their wards are using. Today, we'll continue with this discussion and want to delve into it. I want to introduce my guests. I still have those I was with last week. Gideon Kofi Amegavi, cyber security professional. Gideon, you're welcome once again.
Thank you, Peps.
I also have with me Emmanuel Boache from Kilo Limited. Emmanuel, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Before we have our discussions, this is just by the way, I want to find out today our Black Stars had a football match. Did you perchance watch it? Gideon?
No.
You didn't watch it? Okay. What about you, Emmanuel? It's because you are just techies, so you don't really concern yourself.
Not really. But it is what it is.
It's just what it is. So you couldn't really get to watch it. It's not as if me saying I was able to watch it, but at least we know the scores. Yeah. What our Black Stars are doing to us. We're expecting a good comeback from them because what they are doing is not really that cool. But let's get into our conversation. Last week, we looked at different ways. I think from the discussions that we had, we saw why it was important for parents to monitor the devices that their wards use. Mainly because we see that now there are predators out there. People are just waiting for, it could even be a case of fraud, checking who is online, how they can get access to them. And so there was a need for parents to monitor their wards when it comes to the use of the devices that they have. We also went through different processes of how we can even set it up on the phones and then on the laptops with the use of applications that are available, and even from the phones, for instance, the settings and putting parental control in place, setting time limits on how long they use the devices. All of them, we touched on it. And one thing that was very clear with all the discussions that we had was that the children are ahead of the parents.
Sure.
we see it very clear now that, I mean, if you're a parent and you are not learning,
Yeah.
you would have your words being ahead of you, and they would even be using the device more than you, finding ways to beat the system. We
Yeah.
had a question like that coming from one of the people who sent their messages, that how can you even find a way? You go to check the history. The child has watched it from the browser and deleted the things that they have watched. Today we want to start off by getting into these details when it comes to internet setup in the house. What are some of the things that we can do in terms of settings so that they just don't have access to anything at all? We can monitor them and also put some kind of control in place. I'll start with you, Gideon.
All right. Thanks very much. And I think this is part 2. So yeah, let's just take it off from where we left off last week. So when it comes to the internet at home, normally what I do advise people to do is to have a shared internet service where it can be controlled. And I'm breaking it down so that our listeners will understand the concept by shared internet service. So we have the normal telcos, like, where we have our SIMs, and we have service providers, internet service providers, who provide dedicated internet service at home. So, i.e., the Vodafones, the MTN home broadband, and all that, or even some of these table net and other forms of source of internet by the ISPs. So, normally, if you want to have total control, or if you want to take ownership of your internet access for your children, the best thing is to have this form of internet in the house. So once you have this, most of them come with the Sohu devices, like the Sohu routers. These routers enable you to put in some parental guidelines or controls, as we talked about last week. And also you have the right to limit or restrict websites and activities where this kids will not be able to engage in. So if you have it in that way, it gives you the power or the control to even, you can go to the extent of preventing them from certain websites they can visit and all that. And you can even set time limits as to when they can even be online, when they can go offline and all that. So if they are home and they have any internet to use, and this is the source of internet, it's like more of a controlled environment. It makes it difficult for them to kind of move away from what you want them to do. So that is one key consideration as a parent. If you want internet source in the house, instead of giving them their individual internet sources or having to set up from different SIMs and all that, have a shared dedicated internet at home where you can, maybe if you can't do it yourself, you can Google it. If you can't do that, you can employ the service of an expert to just set this thing up for you and take you through. And once he or she is done, you can take over from there. You can be trained to take over from there. So I think that is one source we can consider one of the best practices we need to look at for as parents.
Okay, so the use of shared internet.
Yeah, where you can control it.
Okay. Emmanuel.
Okay, so just to add up to what he said, it's a very good point, and I think it's really, really important that they have shared network in the homes where the parents would be able to monitor what their kids are watching or whatever their kids are doing online. Nonetheless, when you find themselves or when the kids find themselves outside, then they don't have the shared internet.
Yeah. Yes.
So in instances like this, what I would recommend parents to have on their shared internet devices is softwares.
Okay.
Good. So softwares like Google Family Link.
Yeah.
Yes, Google Family Link is a very good software. And then Kaspersky Family.
Yeah.
I've been talking about Kaspersky.
Yes,
The power of
yes.
Kaspersky is actually very broad. So with the Kaspersky Family, when you set up this home internet, okay, and then maybe your kids are not there, they are not in the house, okay, with a Kaspersky Family, it actually helps you to monitor them while they are even away from the house.
Yeah.
Yes. So despite the fact that they are not home to use the internet through which you can actually monitor them and find out what they are doing. With the Kaspersky, when they are even outside and they are trying to visit softwares or applications that are not suitable for them, it gives you a prompt and notification
So
that
you
your
know
child
what's
is here
happening.
at this point in time and he's trying to access this website, and it will give you the go ahead to either allow them
To do
visit
that.
or not.
Yeah.
Yes, and that is a very quick way or good way to actually keep them in check. You
Yeah.
understand? So because when you're visiting certain websites, it would actually send you a prompt to your phone, because you are the one that set up the device and you are the one that have given them the control and access to where they can go and where they cannot go. So as a result of that, whenever they are visiting these websites, it gives you the prompt for you to know that, oh, my child is visiting this, my child is visiting that. And you know what most parents should also take notice is sometimes their kids don't even know what their website entails.
Yeah.
So when it
Yeah.
happens that way and you see them on your phone, you see them popping up on your phone, do not take them on in a harsh manner. Just sit them down. Lay it to them and let them know the advantages and the disadvantages that comes with indulging yourself into visiting such act.
I would like us to dwell here a bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
They're sitting them down and having that conversation with them.
Yes.
Let us touch on it a bit. But before that, we just want to spell out the name of the application.
Kaspersky.
Yes.
Okay.
Kaspersky. It is Kaspersky.
Yeah.
Kaspersky. And also there is Google Family
Link, yeah.
Yeah. So let's touch on this again. When you see this is what is happening, what do you do with the child?
Yes,
That's
so
what-
the reason why I'm saying this is you need to actually sit them down and let them know the do's and don'ts, the advantages and the disadvantages of visiting such sites. The reason why I'm saying this is some of the search engines, when you are searching for an item, it could probably be a research work, they have pop-up ads. These pop-up ads sometimes contain these
Porn pictures and
yes,
things, yeah.
exactly, that pops up. So for instance, if someone who is bi curious, when the person sees it, the person wants to know, oh, okay, so let me click and see what happens. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? Yes. So when it happens that way and the person clicks to see what happens, it's like, no, he's drifting away from what he's actually supposed to study.
Yeah.
Yes. So you make them aware, or better still, once you the parent get a notification on your phone, and then you can actually ask them what kind of information they are seeking for from that website, and then you the parent, you know best, so you can get that information from them without them having to go and see those disturbing images or those
Yeah.
disturbing videos. So when you get it to them, they send it to them, then they can do whatever research that they want to do. That would be one safe way to deal with them, because in as much as the internet has a broad search engine, there are certain items when you are searching for them, you only find it in these sites. We call them third party sites. There are those sites that you can actually get the information you are looking for. Yes. So when they find out that this is the site I can actually get the information I'm getting from, and it's very useful, the parents should help them get those information for them, and then send it to them for them to do whatever they want to do.
This would be a parent that is tech savvy in a way.
No.
So for someone who the child is ahead of them when it comes to the use of these devices, how do we advise such a person to help the child? Because for some parents, they've just bought the device for their children.
Yeah.
They don't really know how to use it in the
Yeah,
first
so
place.
I think it goes back to what we mentioned last week. That's what he touched on, the open
Yeah.
conversation
Yeah.
or open communication. You see, once you, and like I said, you shouldn't see this social media or the internet aspect of our children's life as a different world altogether. Just as we try to correct them in every other areas or all the other areas in their lives, we should see this to be another area we are grooming and training them to become good people at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Do you get it? So if this is a mindset of you as a parent, then by default you see this to be part of the upbringing,
The
the
children.
good practice you are instilling into the child. So by having the open communication, whether your child is ahead of you or you are ahead of the child, it doesn't still matter. It's about understanding the do's and the don'ts, like you said. This is the family rules regarding digital. When it comes to using any electronic gadget, these are the rules. At this time of the day, it's time for maybe breakfast. This time is time for lunch. This time is time for dinner or family time together. So all phones aside. These are basic practices you put, or you introduce your children to, so they learn to cultivate it. And like I said last week, the social media is a community on its own.
Yes.
The upbringing you get home, when you get there, is a different world altogether.
Definitely.
Yes, but then if you have good upbringing, it goes to some extent to kind of affect how you even carry yourself on the social media. You know how to respect elders. You know how to, kind of pass information across. You know what to communicate and what not to even communicate. What to write as comment under people's posts and what not to write. These are all manners and these are ethics. These things are not being taught as part of you learning how to use this digital asset and all that. It's the responsibility of the parents to make sure that the kids or the children are learning these practices. So whether the parents is even aware of TikTok or Facebook or whatever, whether they are aware or not, because of the good practices they have instilled in this, or the discipline in this case, they will go there and they behave themselves.
So this is where the open conversation comes in.
Exactly.
Being able to talk about
Yes.
the issues happening,
Yes.
being able to relate with them,
Exactly.
and then showing that.
And also seeing this as part of their upbringing,
Grooming process.
grooming process. You need to make sure that you are grooming them well for the world, not just for your community. Yeah.
Interesting. For you listening to us, we want to hear from you. Do you have anything in place as a family or as a parent where you can have open conversations with your words when it comes to the use of these devices? How do these conversations go? Is it something that is simply done? We've spoken about also doing some kind of setup. Let us hear from you if you have any form of these applications you have spoken about, the Google Family Link, or you are even using the Kaspersky. How has it helped you? We want to hear from you. You can reach us on the number 055-1111-997. You can send us a WhatsApp message on the number 055-1111-997. Today we are still talking about how parents can monitor the tech devices that their wards use, and we want to hear from you if, as your family, you have anything in place, being able to openly talk about it, because for our generation, I think sometimes it's a bit easier to have the conversation then your words are in a place of understanding you. But I watched this video, and what the man said was, depending on the age of your children, sometimes they are not your friends. They are your children.
Yes, discipline
you
them.
need to discipline them. So then we have to strike the balance when it comes to this. I like what you shared, Gideon.
And you see, I think we did mention as well that these children, they see us as role models.
Yes.
And they learn by mimicking what we practice.
Yes.
So we should actually practice what we preach. So if you are telling them, don't do this, don't do that. I started a perfect example. If the kids come back from school and they see you, the mother or the father, on TikTok the whole day laughing and making noise here and there, or even comment and things you are passing about people's videos and all that, they pick this. You may think you are just doing it and it's just for fun and all that, but this case they pick this up, and then the next time you see, they mimic you or they start doing the same thing. If you insult people in their presence, they pick this. They see that, they go on social media, they start insulting people.
That's true.
So this is like a culture something, and the earlier we realize that, the better.
That's definitely true. We'll be getting to tips that parents can use when it comes to the use of the devices. But I want to touch on this. Before we came into the studio today, we met Michael, and Michael had this conversation about what if we could have a national policy like the way we have in China right now. Depending on the child's age, they can't use devices up to a certain number of hours. Is this something that, I'm asking you first, Emmanuel, you think we can implement here in Ghana? I mean, looking at our setting.
It would actually depend. Most of the times we go with the notion that freedom to do anything at all, and then I have my own free will. I can get whatever device I want at any point in time. Putting policies to restrict the rate at which children can access the internet, that I think would be very good. I think some time back there was this computer processing company. I think they were here in Ghana. They brought some computer that was shared to I think SHS or junior high school. Yes, and then that computer only allows you to be able to access certain parts of the internet. For instance, Encarta, Wikipedia, and all those places, just for learning purposes. Yes, and then that one you can't go outside of it. You can only
So it was
be in
already
there. Yes, so it was
installed
already
like
it was
that.
like pre-installed, and you
Yes.
can't do anything about it. Yes, so when we introduced these type of devices, okay, to mostly kids that are in the primary and then GHS, I think it will help them a lot because it would keep them on their toes. So always be on their book. Nonetheless, those devices also comes with pre-installed games where you can actually play because or we cannot play Major Access
I
Down
really
Boy.
like that
Yes.
because you usually want to touch on it.
Exactly.
You
Yeah.
should have it balanced.
Yes, you should have it balanced. It shouldn't always be books, 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 books.
We should allow them to.
Yes. So if the government is putting policies in place for us to get more of those devices being produced and then educates the parents for the need of them introducing those particular devices to their wards, probably from primary to JHS, because mostly they don't do heavy stuffs. Primary JHS, where they can only access the part of the internet that gives them information, useful information for their schoolwork and then school activities, and that is perfectly fine. But to say maybe they want to restrict them totally from, accessing the internet, or they want to put band onto
Maybe a certain number
on
of
the
hours.
age or certain number of
Yes.
hours, it will be very difficult to implement. That is what
Here
I
in
think.
Ghana.
It will be very difficult to implement because businesses will go down.
Businesses will go
Yeah,
down.
businesses.
Cybersecurity
go down.
professional.
Well, I would say policy is as effective as its implementer. Yeah, so I'll take it from this angle. It depends on who is spearheading this. Yes, and we know we're in a country where if policies favor some group of people and they have the power, it gets it through. So if you have such policy, you need to get the buy-in of the movers and shakers of the of the economy, because the reason I'm saying that is these things we are talking is tied to businesses.
Yeah.
And bringing in policies, I know is on a high level, but then definitely is going to look at the type of device that is supposed to be manufactured, the manufacturers who are supposed to, those who have the right or the license to produce these devices and all that. It's going to create jobs, going to create a whole lot of stuff. But like I said, it's as effective as its implementer. If the team leading or whoever's supposed to lead this, I won't say government, because I know other policies that are in this sector,
Yeah.
but are not as effective as they were supposed to be.
Yes.
So if parents themselves even see the need, and I think when we had that discussion earlier, I brought my opinion on that if parents themselves start realizing the need or the negative effect of this gadget or the social media as a whole, because mostly this kids use this for social media and other stuff, and they start putting some pressure to the powers be,
Yeah.
I think that is where an
We'll
effective
see
policy
a
can,
change.
because then it's like we have this policy being requested by the consumers. But if it's normally the other way around, government or institutions pushing these policies through the truth of people, there are rejections, people try to go contrary to that and all that. It doesn't mean that it will not work, but it's all depends on who is implementing, who has the power to do that. And once, I think it's, because we have CSA, National Cybersecurity Authority now, taking care of all cybersecurity, firms, cybersecurity professionals and all that, that has been, is an authority.
Yes.
Which is mandated to do that. So if a policy is coming and is tied to an authority or is tied to some powers, I believe they need to be very effective.
But for now, we don't have anything like that in place.
For now, yeah.
For me, I think it may be a bit difficult to have that implementation here in Ghana.
I know there are some laws and policies that, when as our legal person indicated last week, that details or gives kind of information about the protection, the child protection online and all that. Yeah, but the effectiveness of it is what matters at this point.
Yeah, because some of these countries that are implementing this, most of them are manufacturing the devices.
Exactly.
But here we are
Yeah, you are importing them.
from them. So it might be easier for them to just go ahead and implement such a policy in building the devices. Like you gave the example of the pre-installation being done on the laptops that were given to the students. If they are manufacturing the devices, then they can go ahead and have this pre-installation in place. So yeah, it may take us some time for Ghana to get there, but I believe we'll get there definitely. So we are on Geek Squad. This is your girl Adobia Biritwum. Today we have been talking about how parents can monitor the devices that their wards use for the safety of their children. We would like to hear from you. Our line 05511119997. We want to hear from you. Send us your WhatsApp message. What are some of the things that you are doing to monitor the devices that your wards are using? We'd like to hear from you. You can send us a message on the line 05511119997. Now we want to look at the tips that we can have as parents to help us. I mean, a lot has been shared. Some of them are not just about putting technological control in place. Some of them are just social, like Gideon, you mentioned earlier. The way we have social media as a community now, we just have to compare it with the physical community that we have. Today, I watched an interesting clip on Instagram. It was actually a woman. You can tell she was the woman of the house. And she stood by the dining table. Anyone who got there with their plate, before she served you, there was a big bowl. You drop your phone or your tablet or anything. You drop it. The man, as in the husband, got there, dropped the phone. The woman just fetched a very small portion. Said, bring the other phone. Like, if you're not bringing all the phones. So these are some of the things that can be done. So can we look at the different tips that parents can have in place, not just technology alone? You spoke about certain limits. I've just given this example. Can we just touch on some of the tips? I'll start with you, Emmanuel. But before we get into that, we want you to just stay around. We'll continue right after this. Welcome back. This is Geek Squad with Adobia Biritwum. So you know we all have those days when you are low on everything: energy, time, cash, and even airtime and data. Well, that's why MTN Extra Time is an airtime and data advanced service that allows you to make calls or browse the internet even when you have insufficient balance. All you have to do is dial *506# *506#. Go through the prompt and select the amount of airtime or data you need. It's more than simple. Doing your favorite things on MTN means you don't get interrupted even when you are low on airtime or data. Please remember, terms and conditions apply. Today we are having the discussion on how parents can monitor the devices of their children, especially for the safety of their wards. And with the conversation that we have had so far, we have seen that when it comes to the use of these devices, parents must know how to even use them in the first place in order to help their wards. And there should be open conversation where you let them understand, if you are using this device, you are going on social media, these are the things you can do. So there must be some rules set in place. And as parents, we have to be role models. So that it will be do as I do, not do as I say. So we want to get into the tips that parents can have in place. And I touched on the video I watched today on Instagram. So we'll get into the details of the tips. But for you listening to us, we would like to hear from you. What are some of the tips that you are using currently? Are you monitoring the devices that your wards are using? Are you able to determine if they are going to certain sites and they have to be spoken to, or you have to prevent them? Let us hear from you. You can send us a message to the WhatsApp number 055 1111 997, or you can call us. Our phone lines are open. You can reach us on the number 0302 216 541 0302 216 541. Let us hear from you. If you are monitoring the devices of your wards, how is that going? And if there's anything at all you'd like to even get more details on concerning this topic, you can reach out to us. So with this first one, we putting in place some kind of time for us to use the devices. Like I said, the video I watched, it was dinner time. Everybody had to drop their phone before. What are some of the tips that we can put in place when it comes to reusing the devices and even being role models for our children? I'll start with you.
All right. Okay. So, talking about the time supervision, for instance, I think most often at time when you give your words too much freedom, you don't actually keep your eyes on them. You don't watch them. Then you give them the platform to have the phone as and when they want. You see, they intend to abuse the time that they have. So, like I always say, I keep on mentioning the use of the software. That's because the software is very, very important and it's very powerful. So, for instance, you find yourself in homes where your wards sleep in separate rooms as compared to you. So, when they are going to their room, they are going with their devices. So, you will not actually know how whether or not the time given to them.
All right, Emmanuel, we'll get to this right now.
Okay.
Some of the ways that some parents have their wards sleep in different rooms. We have a caller on the line. Hello, James. Good evening. Okay, let's continue with our conversation.
Okay, so in instances like this, you wouldn't actually be able to know whether he's asleep or he's still on his phone or his laptop. That is when, like I always say, this software comes in. You see, the power of this software is actually very, very powerful, and then again, it's easy to use. Like I always say, very, very easy to use and very easy to set up. Now you do what we call time observation. Yes, so it actually gives you the opportunity to know when the child is online or the child is not online.
That we spoke
Exactly,
about.
the Kaspersky, to know where the child is online and when the child is not online. Now it's time for him or her to probably go to bed, but he's still on his device, maybe playing games or doing whatever it is that he or she is doing. You can actually turn the device off from from your side. That's from you, the parent that is monitoring the child. You just turn it off. Once it's off, he can't do anything with it again. Yes, so the internet is seized.
Access
to everything is seized. So what would left for the child to do is just to sleep.
To have open conversation tomorrow.
Exactly. Yes, and then the second one. Okay.
So with the Kaspersky, you can put some things in place. We have another caller. Hello, Ishmael. Good evening.
Evening.
Where are you calling us from, please?
I'm calling you from Adome.
Okay, Ishmael, let us hear from you.
Well, I'm grateful for the program. Very educative. I want to ask if you are sharing data with your kids, monitoring them. Is it easy for you to monitor from afar? For instance, your son is in secondary school, you are at home. Can that software help you to monitor him or her from afar?
Thank you very much, Ishmael.
Yes, it can. It can actually help you monitor them wherever they are, one, and then whatever they are doing on the device, two, and then the third one, which sites that they visit.
Yeah.
Good. So that's the software actually puts all these measures in place for you to be able to track your child, especially in instances where you are not the one that dropped them off school. So they have their phones with them, they have someone that dropped them off school. So once they are dropped at their school gate, it gives you the notification that your child has been dropped off at this time. It gives you all that on your phone, so you can just
monitoring
so you can
the location of the child as well.
So you can sit at the comfort of your home or at the comfort of your office, knowing perfectly well that your child is being saved and being protected, because it gives you all the feedback and information as to where your child is, what your child is doing, and at what point in time your child should get home. And then maybe if there's even a traffic on the way, it will tell you that your child is supposed to get home in like say 4:30, but there's a huge traffic, so you'll be expected to get home 4:45. It gives you all those information.
So you are well informed.
Exactly.
If you're sharing the data with the world.
Yes, and it doesn't actually matter where you find yourself. Any place, anytime, you get to monitor your child.
So that's for you, Ishmael. You are able to monitor your child with this application. That's the Kaspersky. It will be good for you to just get more details on that. So Gideon, we've spoken about certain time where family can have time alone using the internet. What other tips can you also mention?
Okay. So there is what we call the safe search for the web browsers, which can be enabled on the browser. So this prevents the kids from getting contents that are not meant for them. So just like the parental controls we did mention of, yeah. So these are ways, and these things are free services you can utilize. You can use without paying a dime. So that is one thing. So in case a parent doesn't have the means to even afford some of these softwares, these are the means. Also, like I did explain last week, we have the inbuilt parental control for both iOS and Android.
Yeah.
So you just search for parental control on the Android device. You see the settings, just a step by step. You just follow the prompt, and you'll be able to set them up. You can restrict the internet access. You can restrict their screen time and all that. On iOS too, you look for the digital well-being functionality we did mention of. Yeah, so you just search digital well-being there. You'll be able to follow the prompt and equally set up this. One other thing is that mostly when these kids are handed over this device, the parents forget about the device.
Yeah.
So in terms of updates, they don't do them. And it's very important. These are security loopholes. They are vulnerabilities. So if you don't update these devices just as you do for your regular device, so if it's your kid's laptop, schedule the update, or like I said, if you can't do this, you can Google or get the professional advice. Then let them help you to set this properly. So you constantly update them. So if somebody wants to get you, it doesn't get you, can get you through your kid.
Yeah.
So in as much as you are protected with your device, make sure that the antiviruses on their machines, and these antivirus are up to date. They have the latest signatures, or things that they'll be able to detect and prevent some of these malicious softwares and all that. And yeah, so those are some of the basic tips you as a parent you need to adapt.
Okay, when we give the devices to ours, we do not have to just leave it for them. We need to be monitoring them using applications like Kaspersky. Not only that, we have to be running updates on them. If you are not a tech savvy, get someone who is a professional to help you do this. This is Geek Squad with Adobe Biritwum. Let's take a listen to the quick tech fixes. Welcome back. This is Geek Squad with Adobe Biritwum. We know that carrying multiple phones around can be such a chore. MTN is saying that the unsightly bulge in your pockets, the extra weight in your purse, the stress of switching from one phone to the other to pick calls. Now imagine being able to switch between different numbers on the same phone easily and seamlessly. Guess what? You can go seamless with MTN eSIM and enjoy the convenience of connecting multiple phone numbers to one single phone or device. To check if your phone or device is compatible, simply dial *#06# *#06#. Once you receive an EID number, it means your phone or device is compatible. Simply download my MTN app today to request your MTN eSIM and enjoy the sweet, seamless life everywhere you go. All too soon, we are coming to the end of the show today, and it's been an interesting time chatting with Gideon, Kofi Amegavi, and also Emmanuel Boache. We want to take final words. This one, let it be 20 seconds, and please let us stick to 20 seconds. Like we said, November, we are really focusing on our children, so we'll be touching on a topic still around this next week, God willing. But just before I get into the details of that, let's wrap up. 20 seconds. Emmanuel first.
Okay, so I think all is said and done, and then what we should be more careful with is we setting rules and being example to our kids, because they learn a lot, and then they actually learn a lot from us. So when they see that we are doing the right thing, and yet we tell them to do the right thing, they'll just follow suit and then do same as us. And then also we should also be very, very aware with what they are using their gadgets or devices for, because it's not all the time that we'll be with them.
Yeah.
Yes. then yeah, I think
Gideon.
that's basically it.
Sure.
Yes.
20
Okay.
seconds.
All right. Good. Thanks. So I think as parents we should be aware, as he just rightly said, we shouldn't just buy devices to them in the name of because they are requesting for it or because we can afford them. We should make sure that whatever we are handing over to our kids, we understand what they are going to use it for, and we have total control of it. And also, I think one good practice as parents should do is we should reward good behavior as part of the rules we set in the house. When kids are able to do the right thing, you reward them and all that. And above it all, we as parents should learn and be ahead of our kids.
Yeah.
Parents should learn and be ahead of their kids when it comes to device monitoring. There is a need for us to do that. We also have to grow with them, have open conversations with them. Like I said, we'll be continuing next week, God willing. But before we sign off, we want you to know that next week, get ready, listen to us. We want to touch on cyberbullying when it comes to our wards and how we can even prepare them for it so that they don't fall victims. Before we go off, thank you for listening to me today, Mr. Patrick Sarkodie. I know you have always been listening, giving the support. Thank you so much. And also a happy birthday to you, Winifred Samkau of MTN. Happy birthday to you. Belated wishes to you, Mrs. Joyce Cranting. Happy birthday to you. There are a lot of November borns. It's interesting. The February. Okay. God willing, next week we'll do our cyberbullying when it comes to ours. A big thank you to my producer, Prince Afo, Abeku Sankofi, and then Oliver for being on the team as well. And then to my executive producer, Edem Naite. It's been an interesting evening. Thank you. Next week, see you.